School wasn't for me. I remember my attendance wasn't the greatest. I think it was at 32% or something. I knew what I was going to do. Business was for me, but people think it's easy. It's not.
Ko te kapa Tamariki e nguru nei.
All these pēpea mates from Te Kohanga reo o Te Kāhui. Parents wanting more places for them to be able to engage and use the reo which comes naturally to them.
Mai te rangi ki te whenua ki te rangi, te moana paunamu ki ngā kāhui maunga tākiri iho mai ngā mihi nui e te whānau. Nau mai hoki mai ki Marae komiri a makamo tōku ingoa. I tēnei ata, the Māori economy is valued at $126 billion. Engari, ia ha te tino tikanga. The recently released report, Te Ōhanga Māori, paints an extraordinary picture where the Māori economy has been growing faster than the overall fragile economy, with a nearly 50% increase in self-employment and a 31% increase in Māori employers since 2018. And while agriculture, forestry and fishing were the primary contributors to GDP 7 years ago, professional, scientific and technical services are now leading the way. Underpinning a lot of that success is small to medium businesses. So what does this all mean, and what are the future opportunities for the Māori economy? Well, joining me to discuss this further is Tania Pouwhare, co-founder of Amotai, a non-profit organisation working to connect Māori and Pasifika businesses with buyers. Karali Tangiao, Managing Director of construction business Stronghold Group, and Manawa Uri, founder and CEO of Ngāhere Communities. Tēnā koutou wāhine mā.
Tēnā koe.
So good to have you all here, have our wāhine lineup. Thank you for joining us this morning. So this is actually, it's incredible, isn't it? $126 billion. But when we talk about that, Tania, what are we saying? What is the Māori economy? What does it encompass?
So the Māori economy is primarily, it's two things. It's household, so it's you and I and our kids and our whare, and it is the money that we're bringing into that whare, so through jobs and through enterprise as well, being our own bosses. And it's also businesses. Now, I think perhaps the common view of when we think about Māori business is that we think about iwi and we think about post-treaty settlement entities, etc., and them being the captains of industry. But actually, 71% of that 126 billion is in the hands of privately owned small and medium-sized enterprise, like Karali and like Manawa.
So how did we get so big so fast?
Look, you cannot traverse a third of the world's oceans without being, master entrepreneurs, master risk takers. And so this is in our DNA. And quite frankly, with our ups and downs in the labour market and in being employees, often there's no choice for people. You do have to make your own job and you do have to make your own way in the world. And I think the story of Māori entrepreneurship is a really hopeful one. It's the antidote to, really entrenched poverty. I've seen the most amazing hero journeys from our everyday people who have just got the nous, the tenacity and the drive to plough their own path and make their own fortunes.
Yeah, and as you say, we've got two of those tō wāhine here. We have around 24,000 Māori-owned businesses, most of them in Tamariki. Karali Tangiao is part of that, with a number of businesses under our ownership. What do you see as the strengths of Māori business?
I think that the value-based system that we operate within is an incredible strength of the way that we work for our people, and thinking about making sure that we bring people along with us on that journey. It's not just about us, and so that value-based manaakitanga, kaitiakitanga, manaakitanga, all the tangas, essentially is what helps drive that forward.
So how does that play out in your businesses? What do we see if we're working for Karali Tangiao?
Well, I guess on a day-to-day basis, I mean, it's not dissimilar from anything else, except that, we see, and I don't want to answer that on behalf of every other Māori business, but, we see the people as a whole. We know that there's things that are often going on at home, and, we can work alongside our whānau to ensure that we're, a big thing for us is upskilling in our staff and making sure that we're identifying where we need to grow to, and then bringing our people on the journey with us. And we were just talking about this earlier, that, that skill gap often means that we need to bring in somebody, but we need to mentor our people and help them along the way. So bringing that guiding person alongside them to help bridge that gap so that then they can move forward in their journey on their own right.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about for you, Manawa, in Ngāhere communities, what's underpinned your success?
Oh, I think some of the things actually that Tanya alluded to, like it's a tough journey. It is about mindset, it is about having the tenacity to continue to do it. But I think probably more than anything, the thing that drives me is the fact that I've always felt out of place in the mainstream spaces, and I always felt like, as I'm sure we know as wahine Māori, you're always like, maybe you're a little bit too much, or you're a little bit off the mark of what is expected of wahine or of women, or in those spaces. And so that really drives me. I've experienced myself a lot of adversity trying to make my way in the world, and I think that's kind of come back to me now, where I'm like, man, I'm just so determined to make sure that our people understand our potential and then have the opportunities and the access to things that's going to help us get there. And I think it's that tenacity that really comes into it, because it's a hard journey for sure.
And we often say too, we think generationally, and it sounds to me like you are and Karalee both mindfully building businesses that train and mentor our rangatahi, other workers kaimahi to work towards their own success. Rawe. And so, this is a tricky time for Māori. A lot of us feel under attack. Is the success of the Māori economy, though, evidence that we can stand on our own? We don't necessarily need government. We don't need other people coming in telling us how to do things.
I think the thing about building a successful economy is that it needs everybody and everybody playing their part. So our businesses, they need government, they need all of the support ecosystem, they need the banks, they, to be playing their part so that they can have a successful journey, because as we've heard, it's fraught. It's fraught with barriers and challenges along the way. And the consequences of failure are very real. People can lose their homes, and then that has an intergenerational impact for their kids. So whilst this is a journey of mana motuhake, most certainly for Māori, actually it's good for the whole country. It's good for New Zealand Inc., and therefore everyone who's part of New Zealand Inc. needs to get behind this endeavour.
So, we talked about the general economy being in a fragile state at the moment. How robust is the Māori economy?
Well, we've seen growth since 2018, which is fantastic. But we've also seen where times have got really tough for the Māori economy and we've gone backwards, and the global financial crisis was a really good example of that. So we always need to be mindful and wary of when the next GFC is around the corner, and the better that we can plan, the better that we can act as a collective and be there for each other, we'll be able to weather those economic challenges, those headwinds as they call them, far better than if we were trying to operate as competitors and in a winner-takes-all economy environment.
Because, we talk, there's so much good news. 46% of our people are now high-skilled jobs, 40% in low-skilled jobs. It was the other way around 7 years ago. Māori tourism contributed $1.2 billion to GDP in 2023, huge numbers. So it sounds really good, but what are the biggest challenges for you, Karalee, in ensuring sustainability in your businesses?
I think the biggest challenge for us is obviously cash flow, access to capital. We have, lots of obviously income going out, supplier payments to pay our people, to pay all the things, and if we lose that momentum, it can cause massive challenges for us as a business. And not only that, I think also the access to opportunities and, the procurement challenges that we have. If you're learning to navigate the system which isn't inherently built for us, and we're working in a mainstream environment. I think that for us as Stronghold Group, we've been really lucky to, take the opportunities that have been presented to us, we've gone with it. We've really tried to make the most of those opportunities, and as a result, we've been able to bring our suppliers along with us on that journey. So we make a concerted effort to continue to grow the capability and the capacity of the suppliers that we work with. And when we went from being a subcontractor to a main contractor, we were able to add more influence in that space, and that was massive for us, because then you start to be able to write, the pathway and to support and to continuously feed into that economy. And when it's good for Māori in that space and it's good for Pacifica, we can help to grow that. And I think I say that because obviously I'm Māori and Pacifica with my husband and Stronghold Group and the work that we do. But 80% of our staff are Māori and Pacific, and it's important for us that we provide a space for them that looks like them. And I think that's something that is different from us from other organisations, is that what might be seen as a detriment elsewhere, and we've seen that, and I've been part of that myself, we embrace that. If you come with Te Ōreo, you come with tikanga, for us that's a major win, and that's what we want to see. We want to see that. We want to be able to work with that within the environments that we work in as well, and demonstrate the beauty of our culture.
I love that. I mean, we haven't got that much longer, but I wanted to ask you all, and maybe Manawa, if you can hit this, how does tikanga and capitalism coexist? So Carolee just said the system wasn't built for us. So how do we make those two things work together?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that capitalism is like an idea. It's a system, whereas tikanga is who we are. They're different. They're totally different. And so I like to see things like pūtea and capitalism and that kind of thing just as tools that exist in the time that we live in. But they're not the dictator, they're not our tupuna, they're not the things, they're not our guiding North Star. And so I think it's important to understand those systems that we live in, but to stay true and be led by who we are. And we do that in really simple ways through the mahi that we do. We're fighting really hard to build this hub for Indigenous innovation and growth in South Auckland. We've been doing it for years and years, and it's still hard because you're always pushing against capitalistic ways and colonial thinking, but we're seeing progress. And the more that you can create spaces where our people can be ourselves, where we can grow businesses based on what's important to us, the more that you see that groundswell coming. So the more opportunities you have, the more, we were speaking just recently to postgrad students at AUT about the way that we do retail through our platform. And it's not so much that what we do is different, it's the same as everything else, it's the way that we do what we do. And I think that's the thing, right? Tikanga is how we do what we do. The systems and what is of value will continue to change as governments and society changes, but as Māori, we are who we are.
We have to wrap in about 30 seconds, so I just want to ask you, Tania, what is the message that we want to leave our viewers with today, our audience with? What is the message that we want to get out?
I think the reason why our Māori entrepreneurs are so important and why we need to back them is because they end up spinning out other Māori entrepreneurs. So, our Tamariki are looking and watching, and you can only be what you see. And so, all of the people who are working with ngahere communities and with Stronghold, you can absolutely bet that there'll be future entrepreneurs coming out of the influence of these two wahine here.
I love that. And what's good for Māori is what's good for everyone, isn't it? Ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. It's just so lovely to have you all here and such a strong lineup of wahine toa and wonderful example. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Tēnā koe.
Anō hoki. A young tane Māori I Turanga in Gisborne is creating a buzz over his burgers after opening up his own shop at just 21 years old. Engari, kaore ia I mutu I reira. He hasn't stopped there. Irena Smith went to find out who the man is behind what locals are calling the best burger in town.
So what's the secret to a good burger?
Really, it's the quality. The beef that we use, the mince, making sure it's fresh. Our patties are done daily, rolled daily. We use Rump, premium grade of New Zealand. There's a lot of other brands, like Australian brands out there that we could use, but the taste and the quality is not there. It doesn't have that fat ratio and the juiciness that comes off it when it cooks.
Meet Onyx Kneeling, the Māori boy from Elgin and owner of Fat Boys Burgers.
Trying burgers in Gizzy, I can't say they're crap, but they weren't my taste. Yeah. So I wanted something that I liked, and because I'm quite fussy, I thought everyone else would like it. So from day one, like kicking the door open, it was just mad, and it still continues to this day. Oh, our Fat Boys is just a barbecue base at the bottom with fresh steak, a fresh meat patty, cheese, American style cheese, bacon, onion rings, and then our burger sauce. So the name Fat Boys came from me and my mates. We call each other Fat Boys, all the names that our burgers are. Really, when we just joke around, that's what each other's name is. You're a fat boy, you know.
At just 21, he says he's living the dream that started as a little boy growing up in this community.
I know the owners really well. So from little, I told them, I want that shop and I'm gonna have that shop one day.
But it's not something some may have thought he would end up doing after leaving school in year 10.
School wasn't for me. I remember my attendance wasn't the greatest. It was, I think it was at 32% or something. But I was made to do my maths test twice because I passed with over 90%. So I was made to do it twice because they thought I was cheating on it. Boys, I was a good school. School's not for everyone, but it is definitely something that you learn common sense from. I knew what I was going to do. Business was for me, but people think it's easy. It's not. There's a lot to it. Everything is a learning curve. When I left Boys High, I started in the orchard. I did 4 years in kiwi fruit. From there, I went over to Pro Traffic. I did just over 2 years with them. It was a mean company, Pro Traffic. 18, I bought one business. That one kind of failed, but it didn't. It gave me more determination to keep going and strive for more. There was that little bit where I was a bit scared. Do I start another business or do I just keep working for someone else? And then I finally just clicked as working for someone else wasn't for me. So I opened Fat Boys.
I had the usual break. Few heart attack, parts, bombers.
That was 4 months ago when he opened the doors and Gizzy locals ate them out of supply. But what's his secret?
I have no idea. Gizzy. Gizzy and wanting to try a new kai, really. Yeah. It really blew us out of the park. The day we sold out, it was actually quite emotional. And it's not something I really get to, but yeah. Selling out was our biggest, I think we did it a couple weeks in a row. It was just selling out, and I tried ordering more, but we just couldn't keep up with it. We had orders for like $600, $700 orders, and we were like, whoa.
He says the real secret to good business is his staff. While he's given other rangatahi an opportunity at work and managerial roles, Auntie Billy Joe keeps it real.
So I met Onyx, it might have been 3 years ago. I didn't even know him. And then we met him in a kiwi fruit, me and my sister, Amelia Frog, and he was a little shit. But we brought him out of it. But yeah, and then he sort of like lagged with us right through then, like stuck to us aunties, and yeah, sort of like looking after us, and I think he drags us with him to keep him in line as well. You know, you need that auntie to give you a bit of a.
And what's he like as a boss?
He's looking at me right now. He's good. Yeah, if he's not, we tell him anyway.
Remembering who your workers are. Remembering who pays your bills. My bills don't get paid without my workers, you know? So they're the best asset to any business, really. And I make them know that too. Yeah.
The burger names speak for themselves.
Could I get one of your American hamburgers with an extra patty?
And it wasn't hard to find some satisfied customers.
Michi pai. Me te karangatanga nei o ngā momo kai nei a heart attack tēnei. Ka kata te Māori ki era. I'll have one of those, please, sir.
They have seen a positive change to a community that at times gets a bad rap.
Nā pōtai te kei konei māua ka poisi. Kai tahi ana e whakawhiti kōrero ana ki ngā iwi o te kāinga i te hāpuri nei. E tino oranga. E tino oranga. E kua mau. Kua mau tāu.
With the success of Fat Boys, Onyx is keeping up the momentum, opening up a second shop on the main street of Gizzy, specialising in fish and chips.
I bought this one, I got the keys on a Saturday. This setup was done on a Sunday. Yeah, we were opened on Tuesday.
It's all part of fulfilling a bigger dream.
The next 2 years, we want at least a group of shops, about 12. Yeah. So I want to start looking at the process of franchising Fat Boys, what that will look like. Whether we take it nationwide, yeah, or international, really. Because the name is built really well. People know it down in Palmerston North, Wellington. They know the name already. Yeah, that's quite cool.
So you've had people down the line asking you to open up shops?
I've had a lot of people approach me and say, would you franchise it? Could we buy a franchise? It's really gone through my head because I won't give away something if I don't know the kai's there, if I don't know the quality is in it. Yeah. Anyone can buy a business, but if the quality's not there, it's a waste of time even selling it to them.
But you're still hoping to do that and, you know, give it a go?
100%. This year, hopefully, for another shop. I'm hoping by September this year we can at least try for a second Fat Boys location in the Wellington region.
It's a belief that comes with a very whānau focus. Having been brought up with his nanny, a firm grounding gave him a clear pathway.
I think at first my whānau were quite shocked when I did it, because I come home one day and I was like, oh, I bought a shop. Or I bought the leasehold and we're opening, and they're like, what? And they were like, yeah, really shocked. Now it's just, you can see how proud all of them are. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like when they say how proud Nan would be. I know I'll stay in business for a while. My thing is really, I don't want to be paying someone else's rent. So I want to be able to get into a home, at least a couple homes by the time I'm 30, without mortgages, and yeah, just be happy. I think it's possible, 100% possible.
Possible and probable. One thing's clear, this young entrepreneur is aiming sky high.
On the big stage, the Super Rugby Pacific's semi-finals are done and dusted, and at grassroots level, supporters are still out in force earlier this weekend with mums and dads on sideline duty, including at Pups Rugby Club's Pups session, with a difference. Reporter Yvonne Tahana went along.
Hurricane.
Off to the rugby with your mates. The baby's babbling.
Hello.
Papa.
Bring a quick tane haki.
These kohanga kids out to support Matua Tyrell.
Kia kaha! Hauma taka taka! Ano, kia kaha! Hauma taka taka!
AKA All Black Tyrell Lomax.
Karawhiua, tahi, rua, toru, wha.
Earlier in the day, he'd come to Puaneke Rugby Pups for under fives to support his girl Winnie, where they'd given him a koha to celebrate his 100th game for the Hurricanes.
Whakanuia, whakanuia! Kanuira te mihi, kia matua Tyrell, ai tautoko tonu nei tā tātou kaupapa.
Pretty grateful, eh? Like, see a lot of work's gone into it. Just the whole kohanga, you know, my daughter's been there for the last 2 years and she loves it.
Ko te kapa Tamariki e ngunguru nei.
All these pēpea mates from Te Ōhanga reo o te kāhui.
Ngā atua. Whakaungia mai. Te hākina-kina. Ki roto ki a tātou. Tihei, mauri ora. Kawaii. Takitu, ki te takitara ne.
Their parents wanting more places for them to be able to engage and use the reo which comes naturally to them.
Hakina. Haputa. Ina nei, kiki o nono, ne? Pene. Karawe. Tahi, rua. Me karo koe i enei mea. Pai? Me kaua koe e pā e enei.
Apere Hamahurihanga Nui used to take his boy Ihipa to a mainstream session but noticed his boy's confusion.
So it was awesome, great coach, the families were very welcoming, but we found that our kids were kind of isolated because they only really interacted in te reo. So te reo in the home, te reo at kōhanga, so they kind of struggled to engage with the instructions, with the drills, just generally communicating with the other kids, coaches and families.
So the kōhanga whānau approached Pōneku Rugby Club for help to set up a te reo session.
He ngohe.
Another former All Black says it's been good for his little girl Mila and the sport.
Yeah, rugby's in a bit of a challenging spot, I guess, at the grassroots and community, so the more we can awhi and help and support all these people that are wanting to do awesome things and grow our game, it's just a huge benefit.
Now every Saturday during the season, these cuties have a place to play. But it's meant Apere Hama's writing a kids' rugby dictionary on the fly.
Koira te tai o ngā uauatanga, ko te ako, I ngā kupu I ngā rerenga e hāngai ana ki tēnei hākina-kina.
Often he's blowing after the sessions.
Pāngia, oringa, kiwa pona, karawhiwa. E koia, he ua. Ka rongo au I te mamae o te tinana, I te piko o te tuara, I te ngau o ngā waiwai. Hoi anō, koira te painga kētanga, he whakapakari I te tinana, he whakanui I te hauora. Te hauora kaua o ngā Tamariki anake, engari o ngā mātua.
Parents joining in and loving the experience.
He tino whakahereira tēnei āhuatanga, he rōpū mō ngā nohi, nō reira, nō mātai te Waimarie.
Important for me because I've been in this country for 7 years from Australia, and I want to learn everything that I'm able to. I want to best support my babies to be able to speak Te Reo Māori as well. So yeah, it is really important to me as well to be part of that journey.
Still, as a rōpū, their eyes are on the try line.
We were actually talking about eventually setting up a rugby club in Te Reo. That's obviously long-term thinking. But yeah, it starts here at Rugby Pups Te Reo Pōneke.
And if the bubbas do the mahi, they get the treats.
Oh my gosh. Sino piwari, cuteness overload. Koina ko marae tērā I tēnei wiki. Ka kite a koutou a tērā wiki kia hau maru te noho, maybe ora. Ko te reo, te take.